Hi everybody, it's Don and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Well, let me tell you about a ship of woe. I have seen some ships have some issues to start off with, but all three of my stories today all involve the exact same ship within a week-long timetable of the trip. And there is a wide variety of issues, and even some so severe that some cruise passengers were turned away from the cruise, unable to get on the ship. Today's video is brought to you by Private Internet Access. So I get often asked, why do I like a VPN? Well, first off, it's securing my information. It's hiding my IP address when I'm on the road or even at home from people who are looking to steal any personal information I have whatsoever. Hiding my bank accounts, hiding my credit card statement. It's making it harder for them to track me wherever I am. I am definitely not wanting to be hacked, especially if I'm traveling. If I'm traveling to distant parts of the world. Now, why did I choose Private Internet Access? Well, first of all, they have a no-log policy, which means they're not even storing my personal information. They're not keeping anything I'm searching or anything while I'm on the VPN. And that's been proven in court by a third-party audit. Also, they give me unlimited device. The one plan covers unlimited devices, which means I can have my iPad, my iPhone, I can have my computer in my office, my computer at home, my laptop when I travel. I can have all these devices under the exact same plan and it doesn't cost me anything extra. So if you'd like to secure all your private information and hide it from people looking to do nefarious things to your accounts, your credit score, even take out loans under your name if they can get that information, you want to hide it from them, why not check out Private Internet Access by following my link down below, and you can get up to 83% off your subscription plus 4 months free. Thanks again to Private Internet Access for sponsoring this video. So recently the Carnival Miracle underwent dry dock, and it went through mostly refurbishments for main areas like the top deck or into restaurants or any of the place where the public is going to go. Very little was done in, say, the staterooms, etc., except some touch-ups here and there. Well, it came out of dry dock, and it is now was doing a repositioning cruise from Lisbon over to Dover in the UK. And while it was there, it had a lot of the executives there after the dry dock to welcome guests back on board their newly refurbished ship. Unfortunately, they ended up getting kind of yelled at and pouted at and screamed at because a lot of guests were unprepared. That's right, it was the guests who were unprepared, not the cruise ship. Now, what am I talking about? Well, they were going from Lisbon to the UK. And what do you need in the UK now to travel there if you're an American citizen, a Canadian citizen? You need an electronic travel entry. That's right, an ETA, authorization, right? So, a lot of people did not have that filled out. And it is basically, Carnival says, we emailed everybody saying that you need this. It's also on the website for the cruise itself. It's also on your statements and your contract. You need an ETA to get on this ship. Now, who needs an ETA, first of all? You may not. I'm not staying in Britain. I'm not staying in Dover. Do I need an ETA? Yes, you do. The only time, if you're arriving by car, by cruise ship, by air, if you are going through customs whatsoever in the UK, you need the electronic travel authorization. Now, the only exception to that is if you're transiting by air and you're getting off the plane and immediately getting on another plane and flying to a different country. If you're not passing through border security, then you don't need that ETA. However, they say that, but I would have one anyway. Is it worth $16 to get stuck in a border crossing? I don't think so. I'll take my electronic transfer every time when I'm heading to the UK. Make sure I have mine. But that came into effect earlier this year in January. And remember, in the rest of Europe, that will be coming in January of 2026. So anybody sailing next year will need one for both places if your cruise is going there. Now, many passengers, they said, yep, that's my fault. It's on us. We didn't get it. We forgot. Other passengers, of course, blame the cruise lines and started blaming the crew for their not being prepared for the ETA. Now, some of them were able to get an electronic transfer right away. Sometimes it can process within minutes of applying for these ETAs. I know when I went to Jamaica and I needed mine, they processed it in about 6 minutes, which was big relief for me, big relief. But sometimes it can take up to 3 business days to process. So yes, it did turn out that some guests did not get on that sailing, and they really have no one to blame but themselves. And unless they have canceled for any reason insurance, that's on them, and they will not get their cruise money back. Carnival will not issue a refund because we were unprepared with our statements, like with our paperwork. That's on us. Every cruise line says the same thing in their statements. You are responsible to have the proper documentation for your cruise. So if you're sailing anywhere that ends up in the UK or leaves from the UK or even stops in the UK, I would make sure I had my electronic travel authorization just to be safe. Now, you might think, well, that's it, right? That's the only issue that happened. No. One guest who got on that sailing walked into their cabin only to find out it was disgusting. There was hairs all over the desks, like the side tables by the bed. There were urine stains on the luggage mat that was placed on the bed. There was mold and grind up in the shower head, around the cabin, around the roof of the cabin, the ceiling of the cabin. The toilet was still stained all around it and on it. It looked like, some of the pictures looked really, really gross. Now, the person took to Facebook to say, oh my God, I've been on 50 cruises and this is the most disgusting cabin I've ever had. And a lot of people said, well, don't post on Facebook. Go and complain to the front desk. Well, guess what? Because they posted on Facebook, Carnival management also saw this. And the next day, the hotel manager, hotel director, and another officer showed up and inspected the cabin and basically were ashamed of the condition of the cabin and said this should never, ever, ever happen, and apologized profusely and immediately moved them to a brand new cabin, a cleaner cabin, and also they got a full refund as well because of the state that that cabin was in. And I'm really glad to see that Carnival owned up to this as fast as possible, and they probably would have owned up to it had they gone down to the front desk to complain as well. They would have inspected it and said, oh my God, we got to do something about this. But how a cabin basically got through, preparedness for embarkation with that kind of stuff, like looking that way. Somebody missed something somewhere, and not just the cabin crew member. That's, it could be, the officers, how come that wasn't checked as well? So I'm sure some people will hear about this an awful lot. They're gonna hear, heads might roll because of this, but the good news is the people were looked after. Carnival responded right away, and these people even got their money back for the cruise. And then, just to top things off, the cruise ship arrives in Dover and gets ready to do their first sailing out of Dover. And immediately everybody gets a message from Carnival as they're getting ready to get on the ship to saying, guess what, folks? We have so many loyal guests with us that, we're going to have to cancel some of your loyalty perks. So Platinum and Diamond members, sorry, you no longer get priority embarkation or disembarkation on this cruise, including any ports of call. And also, we can't guarantee your dining requests as well that you normally get if you're a member. And again, this is happening more and more frequently because Carnival has people sailing on them all the time, and they're getting to those loyalty levels, and there are just so many sometimes sailing on one cruise ship, especially like important cruises, like event cruises, like say a solar eclipse cruise. They'll have like 3/4 of the ship will all be platinum members. That's how busy, you know, and they can't supply all the loyalty benefits. How do you give priority embarkation to 75% of your ship? You just can't do it. So that's why they're revamping their loyalty program later on this year. And I very strongly think they're going to have 1, if not 2, more loyalty levels just to spread those perks out even more. Well, let me know in the comments down below. What would you do if you walked in and you saw your cabin in a really disgusting situation like that? Would you go to Facebook right away or post it on social media? Would you go down to the front desk? Would you do both? I know what I would do, but it's my job. I would be doing both. Yeah, right at a dry dock to have a cabin like that. And then please, everybody, if you're traveling to the UK or anywhere else in the world, make sure you have the proper documentation so you're not left at the port and not left holding the bag and, yeah, costing you a lot of money for something you're not going to do. Well, I hope you appreciate this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Want to see more tips, more tricks, more travel vlogs from around the world? Hit that subscribe button. Until next time, have yourself a safe and a great vacation.